We are, of course, gathered this evening to celebrate Josh and Carrie, their love for each other, and the next chapter of their lives as husband and wife. It is a privilege to be here to celebrate with the two of you and to celebrate you as well. This ceremony is not as representative of you as any event could be. Like the both of you, it will be a unique and individual ceremony. Part of that is because of me, and because I have no idea what I'm doing. But mostly, it's because of you. You decided what to include and what not to include in the ceremony. You decided how you got here, and you will decide together where you go from here. But perhaps most importantly, you decided who you're here with. Along those lines, I'd like to ask you to face each other, which you're doing a good job of, and look in each other's eyes. Josh, just a veil from you. I ask you to do this so you can get a good look at each other and know that this is the one that you have chosen, and the one who has chosen you. This is a tradition that we can trace directly back to the times. The Bible tells us of the story of Jacob, who worked for 7 years for the right to marry his love, Rebekah. But when he came to his wedding day, he discovered that Rebekah's father had tricked him, and he had actually married Rebekah's sister Leah. Luckily for Jacob, monogamy wasn't so much of an issue back then, and all he had to do was work for his father-in-law's farm another 7 years in order to marry Rebekah. Trust me, it's much easier just to be sure ahead of time. So Josh, when you're sure this is your intended bride, you may place the veil down. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to talk about this beautiful chuppah that we stand beneath. In Jewish tradition, chuppah, or wedding canopy, represents the home you'll build together. Your chuppah has special meaning, as it was made from the wedding dress worn by your mother, Ellen, at your parents' wedding. For those who don't know, Carrie's parents, Ellen and Reed, are having a summer full of milestones. Today, of course, they experience one of life's great joys in seeing their daughter marry a good man who cares for her. This August, however, it will be all about them as they celebrate 40 years of marriage. Carrie, I know that being able to use your mother's dress as part of your wedding is especially meaningful to you as you tie your family's path to your own future. The chuppah itself is open on all sides, so everyone can see in and that you can see out. Josh and Carrie, turn around and take a look at those who have gathered around you today. The people you see before you are your families. You're surrounded by the family that you were born into and the family that you have built for yourself as adults. You have brought the community that you have created with you to witness and to celebrate your love for one another. Please face me. Before any marriage, there must be an engagement, and Jewish weddings operate the same way. So I'll start us off by reciting the blessings of betrothal. The other part of it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al harayot v'aser lanu et harusot v'yitar lanu et hanesuvot lanu al yedei chuppah v'kiddushin. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh amo Yisrael al yedei chuppah v'kiddushin. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, whose commandments add holiness to our lives, and whose will guides us even in the most intimate of our relationships. Blessed are you, Lord our God, who sanctifies the people of Israel with chuppah, the wedding canopy, and kiddushin, the sacred wedding traditions. And we all say together, Amen. As you share this wine, a symbol of overflowing joy, so may you share all things from this day forward with love and understanding. May life's joys be heightened, its bitterness be sweetened. At this point, it's customary to read the ketubah. In its most basic sense, marriage is a contractual agreement, and the ketubah is the written contract. Josh and Carrie signed their ketubah 2 days ago with a real rabbi, instead of just a Jewish guy with a beard. Josh, as a lawyer, we'd all like to believe that you read this before signing it, but having gone to law school with you, I'm going to hedge my bets and read it aloud for your benefit as well as everybody else's. On the 5th day of the week, 8 Tammuz 5772, corresponding to June 28, 2012, in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, the bride, Carrie Fader, daughter of Reed and Ellen, and the groom, Joshua Fogel, son of Howard and Wanda, declared, "With hearts full of joy, we stand together under the chuppah, linking past to future, uniting our lives as we enter the sacred covenant of marriage. We vow to cherish, honor, and support each other according to the tradition of Moses and the people of Israel, striving ever to be loving, patient, and loyal partners. Together, may we meet life's challenges. Nurtured by our union, may our souls blossom and our talents flower and our dreams bear fruit." Now, back in law school, if you had told our classmates that a few years down the road, we'd all go to New Jersey to see me marry Josh, they would have completely misunderstood the situation. Probably would have been surprised. Josh and I became close friends as roommates in law school, but that's what happens when two people suffer together in close proximity. I'm not even talking about the classes or the bar exam, because I blocked those out of my mind and vowed never to speak of them again. I'm talking about the Mets season from 2002 to 2004. During the period we were in law school, the Mets' best season ended within 25 games out of first place. I remember when we first started living together, I came back to the city at the end of the summer, excited to go to a game. But Josh quickly cut me off and said, "I'm 0-17, I'm not going back." And I don't think he did. This may be why, after the bar exam, we drove around the country going to baseball games involving other teams. And then we did it again a few years later on the West Coast. Those trips left us a lot of time to talk, and of course we talked about girls, which we always talked about. Which is why when Carrie came into the picture, it was only natural that we talked about her. However, as we no longer lived in the same city, a lot of our conversations took place over email. This is a huge advantage, as it leaves a paper trail, which helps in the event you ever have to speak at a wedding 2.5 years later. So here's what my research revealed. Josh's first mention of Carrie came after their 4th date, right around Josh's birthday in November 2009. I asked him how his date went, and he said, "Good." Now, having had this conversation, I knew there were really only 3 possible answers. The most common two were either fine or I don't want to talk about it. So good was a step up. Now here's another reason it's better to have these talks over email. If Josh and I were talking about it in person, the conversation would have ended there. He would have said, "Good." There would have been a short, silent, awkward silence afterwards, and then we would have talked about Lost or something. But instead, Josh followed that up with, "I kind of like this girl." Now this struck me. If you don't know Josh well, this seems like a pretty innocuous statement. But not for Josh. I don't want to say that Josh is a curmudgeon, but I could. The guy's strongest emotion is indifference. The only thing Josh ever committed to liking were his nephews, the West Wing, and a sandwich shop near Brandeis called Carl's. I'm not exaggerating here. Admitting to kind of liking her was the vocal equivalent of telling me that he found the girl he was going to marry. I met Carrie a few months later when I came to stay with Josh in New York, and it didn't take me long to see that they had something special. Since our first meeting years ago, I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time with Josh and Carrie, and that's allowed me to get to know them as a couple. It goes without saying that Carrie is everything one would look for in a partner. She's smart, good-looking, and a lot of fun. But the truth is, that's not all it takes. You can't just check traits off a list and make a match. There needs to be something more. A certain kind of connection that's hard to put into words. Some people call it finding your soulmate. I think of it more as kindred spirits. Your thoughts, ambitions, dreams, opinions, everything that makes you you, are maybe not identical, but fit together in a way you never understand until you feel it. That's really what we look for in our partners, and Josh and Carrie found it in each other. That was as clear to me as it is to anyone who spends time with them. They're happier together as a pair because they truly enjoy each other. It's a change I've noticed in Josh over the past couple of years. That's why when Josh and Carrie asked me to officiate their wedding, besides being honored, I was grateful for the opportunity to be a part of the celebration and to publicly thank Carrie for bringing out the best in my friend. That's why all of us are here. I talked earlier about how you brought your community with you today. Well, on behalf of that community, I want to thank you for including us in such a momentous part of your lives. We're excited to see you commit yourselves to each other and to wish you all the happiness that is coming to you. And we're touched to know that it means so much to the both of you to have us be a part of this. We're about to celebrate a part of the ceremony known simply as the Shepherd Brachot. 7 blessings. And once again, Josh and Carrie have asked some of their loved ones to participate by reading the blessings. In the Jewish tradition, 7 carries special significance. It is the number of wholeness and holiness. It is the number of the Sabbath, the 7th day, and therefore the number of peace. Josh and Carrie have selected to use an alternate version of these blessings that have special meaning to them. The first of these 7 blessings will be read by Courtney.